Plymouth Township Planning Commission meeting will come to order at 7 p.m. Secretary, please call roll.
Dennis Sabolsky.
Here.
Tim Boyd.
Here.
Kendra Barberina is here. Bob Dorshevitz is excused. Stuart Pop.
Here.
Dave Ladowicz.
Here. And is there a motion to approve the agenda as submitted? I have no changes unless someone else does.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the agenda as submitted.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Boyd and supported by Commissioner Barberina to approve the agenda as submitted. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we have the minutes of our November 20th meeting. Anyone have any additions or corrections?
Okay, on page 8, third paragraph, third sentence down says replanting of the stand of new trees on the south end. I was the one that made that comment, and I may have said south end, but what I meant to say was south end and west end.
Okay,
So if we could just add south and west end,
okay.
no other changes. I'm sorry? It was on page 8, the third paragraph down, and third sentence. Yes, please, thank you.
So like the sixth line.
Right, third from the bottom of that paragraph.
Is that what I said?
Yeah, well, you said
Oh,
third
boy.
one, yeah. Any other changes? Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September 18th.
Second?
Moved by Commissioner,
Wait, from November 20th?
November 20th,
November 20th, sorry.
as amended.
Support.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Pop and supported by Commissioner Barberina to approve the November 20th minutes as submitted, as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And this is the time for public comments, or is there anyone here that wishes to speak on a non-agenda item? Yes, come on forward, give us your name and address. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Lori Wallet. I live in Lake Point, and I want to thank everyone, first of all, for finally letting dogs go in parks and all that fun stuff. But on that same topic, I'd like to see something done about all the cats running amok in the neighborhood. Neighbors let their cats out. I've had some issues, quite honestly, with my neighbor next door, and she just doesn't want to listen about her cat coming in my yard, doing whatever. There's a couple houses further on down the block that have feral cats. Everyone knows that they've got feral cats and are allowed to, feed them and whatnot, keep them going. As a best practice, I'd like to bring up the fact that Livonia does not allow cats. They refer to it as cats at large. And they also require licensing for cats. So I've talked to Dan, the ordinance fellow here, and he was the one that suggested I come to the planning committee. Any thoughts from you folks on that?
Well, we really don't have anything to do with that aspect of the ordinance. All ordinances are passed by the trustees, and we deal mostly with land use and building issues and that kind of
Okay,
thing.
why would Dan have told me to come to the planning committee?
I have no
So
idea.
who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to write a letter to finally get some action on this?
Okay, if you want to write a letter, I would write one to the supervisor, Charles Kermy. And of course, the Board of Trustees, they just met yesterday, and they have plenty of open, comments, just as we are doing today. And you could also speak to the Board of Trustees about it.
Okay, so Charles Kerman?
Charles Kermy.
And the board of, thank you so much. Okay, I guess I said my piece, though.
Oh, Rob,
One of the trustees, Mr. Stewart, actually is a resident of Lake Shore.
I'm sorry, what was that?
John Stewart, who's one of the trustees,
John Stewart?
I believe he is a resident of your subdivision, so you might want to talk to him directly.
and their emails, their email addresses are all on the township website. So you
Okay.
just go to the township website on the Board of Trustees, and they'll have their email address. You can send an email to Supervisor Kermy or John Stewart, who is in your neighborhood, and hopefully you'll see some resolution of the
It'd
matter.
be nice. It would be,
Okay.
like I say, we gotta
like
keep
to
the
thank
dogs
you
under
for bringing
control. Let's
this
keep the
up.
cats under control.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you for bringing this up because we have the same issue in my neighborhood where a cat can go anywhere and
Bingo. Doesn't make sense to me.
no.
And I'll admit it, I'm a dog person.
So thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, thank you for listening, okay?
And thanks
giving
for
me
coming in
direction.
and, bringing awareness to that issue from a number of folks.
Okay,
Okay,
all righty,
thank
good,
you.
all right. So you just need my name here? Okay.
Anyone else have any comments? Okay, then moving on. And we have a public hearing on the Northville Road rezoning, and we'll ask the planner to give her report.
All right. Okay, so the first item for public hearing this evening is for a rezoning on Northville Road. This property doesn't currently have an address. The parcel ID is listed on the review. It is currently a vacant, unoccupied property, adjacent to single-family residence to the south and a condo complex to the north. It's currently zoned R2A, multiple family, and is proposed to be rezoned to R1, one family, residential. So this is an application for rezoning to amend the township zoning map. A rezoning process requires review in front of the planning commission, which is what we're doing here tonight. Followed by and recommendation to the board of trustees, who will do the final review and determination. We've performed a review of the rezoning request for the township ordinance. There are 6 criteria for a conditional rezoning request. The first is, will the proposed rezoning be in accordance with the basic intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance? We found that the applicant's wish to construct a new single-unit dwelling on the property is consistent with the, basic intent of the zoning ordinance to provide the ordinance regulations are designed to protect and conserve the character, social, economic stability of residential, commercial, industrial, and other areas. This use is consistent with the surrounding area and is consistent with the intentions of the zoning ordinance. The proposed amendment will also further the comprehensive planning goals and policies of the township zoning ordinance. We find that while the subject site is officially in the future land use designation for residential high density in the 2015 master plan, however, the master plan also does not recommend necessarily always rezoning properties so that they are more dense than they are currently planned for in the future land use map. There have been multiple inquiries to the planning department about whether what would be permitted at this site, and with the size of the site, it is really only able to have a few units on the property with the size and shape of the site as it is. So developing it as a single unit is well within an appropriate use for the property and consistent with the future land use map. As I said before, the subject site is vacant. There's multifamily residential to the north and single-family residential to the south. One of the properties to the south is single-family, but zoned as multifamily. The other 6 criteria. Number 3, will the amendment correct an inequitable solution created by the zoning ordinance rather than merely grant special privileges? We don't think that this rezoning will grant any special privileges. If anything, it will allow a greater use of the property because a single-family home is not currently permitted on the site with R2A zoning. We don't find that the amendment will result in any exclusionary zoning. The 5th criteria is the proposed zoning consistent with the zoning classification of surrounding land? The proposed zoning is consistent with the zoning. One property, it would be jumping a property, and the properties to the rear of this are also R1. So yes, it would be consistent with properties to the south and to the east, and across the street and behind the property, across the street to the west. And then the 6th criteria for rezoning is whether all requirements in the proposed zoning classification be complied with on the subject parcel. Yes, the property can comply with the zoning ordinance with both zoning district classifications. So finally, we do recommend rezoning of this property. It will allow the property to be used in the way that the prospective buyer wishes to use it as a single-family home in character with the surrounding area. We provided findings for our recommendation on our review.
Okay, thank you very much. Is the applicant here? Yeah. Do you have anything to say? Oh, if you'd come up to the microphone, our meetings are recorded and televised.
Okay. You have a pen? My name's John Hart. I currently live in Maine. I grew up in Michigan, Plymouth Township. I wanted to come back. And this is one of the few lots in Plymouth. I really like downtown Plymouth, where you can build a house. An empty lot. And I looked at the lot and it's very narrow, so I figured it would be good for a single-family home. Yeah. That's all I have to say. Yeah.
Okay, welcome back.
Thanks.
Any questions?
When I drove by the property today, there was, in addition to the zoning or the public hearing, there was a sign that said for sale. Are you,
I'm the buyer, yeah.
you're the buyer? Okay, gotcha.
I'm the listing agent here,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, the sale is pending on the rezoning.
Okay.
What, she had a question?
Yeah, who had the question? Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Should do that for the public hearing. For the public hearing.
No, I don't plan on cutting down
Okay.
any trees in the back. You see, there's the map of it.
Ma'am, just a minute, we're gonna have a public hearing, so in order to get the right cadence for the meeting, hold on to those comments, we wanna hear them or your questions. But are there any questions from the commission? Because then I'll open up the public hearing. Okay, all right, well, just stand by.
I just one question.
Yeah, okay, hold
So
on.
is this the same neighborhood, that we did the rezoning for that other house where he wanted to expand his use?
I think it is.
believe it
Which
is,
lot
yeah.
is that?
It's 2 doors down.
2 doors down
Let's
from
see,
this one?
it's the second large lot.
And the construction's already underway.
Okay, so there's this lot that's empty, then another lot, and then it's the lot on the other side of that, where we did the rezoning
Yes, correct.
some time ago. Okay, thank you.
And then I think most of the left or the west side of Northville Road's now zone R1 too, also.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think that was done 2 years ago.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay, we'll open the public hearing at 7:15. So ma'am, if you would come up and give us your name and address and ask whatever questions or concerns you have. Yeah, we have to get you on mic.
My name is Patricia Merida,
Okay.
and I live in Charnwood Condominiums on Northville Road. And there is a lot on Northville Road that's for sale with this big sign that said there's a zoning meeting, but the date of that zoning meeting is December 18th. But I got a letter, and so did my neighbor, to come here on the 11th. So I want to make sure before I just get all flustered that we're talking about the right lot. Like, is it next to a big greenhouse? Or does it have that big wood sign on the tree? Okay. Well, that's my question. Like, my condominium, I bought it because it faces a bunch of woods. And it is in Hines Park, and there's a subdivision on the other side. But those woods mean everything to me, with the deer coming through there and the turkeys. And I didn't really care to see your garage or the back of your house, is what I'm trying to say. And I don't know, is there anything I can do to stop that? There isn't, is there?
Buy the
You
property.
can buy the property, that'd be it.
That property's been for sale for years. And I know you want to come from Maine. I just was in Maine. It's a lovely state this past summer. But you don't want to live there. That's not downtown Plymouth. You'd have to walk a ways. And the traffic on the road is really a drag. All right, I just have to say something, so just know that, don't cut down my trees.
Okay, so ma'am, wait, I have a question for you. So the sign that you're referring to, it has what date that this rezoning hearing?
It said the zoning meeting was on December 18th, and believe me, I studied it because I was surprised to see that. And my neighbors, we all got a letter to come here on the 11th, which is today. And so we've all been going back and forth about what property, because there was a greenhouse that they said wanted to be rezoned. So I'm not sure,
Okay,
but
so do you know what happened?
There was a miscommunication. The website said I think that the website said the 18th, but the official date for this meeting is the 11th, and that was also there. So the sign ended up having the 18th on it, but the notice that went out directly to residents and on the
11.
and posted in the newspaper does say the 11th.
And that
So
meets
there
the
was an error with the
requirement?
posting
Does that meet the requirement?
on the signage. The sign does direct to the website and more information. And the letters do say the 11th, although, so I don't know how the,
Okay, well, I would suggest that you contact the attorney. I told him he didn't have to come today because I didn't expect that there would be any serious question about that, but we can probably take a vote. I'm not sure if we can take a vote because,
This happened with the Spars property,
right,
and they had it listed for a Tuesday instead of Wednesday,
yeah,
and the attorney didn't let us.
do it. Well,
There was a reason that property was never sold.
I'm not sure if we can legally take action on this today because of this inconsistency of notice. When was the notice in the newspaper? Was the notice in the newspaper met the requirement? And what
notice in
about
the
the
newspaper
sign?
met the requirement. The notice, we caught the mistake before getting the notice in the newspaper. I think the mistake was to notify the applicant correctly that the date was the 11th.
Well, I think we're just going to have to postpone it until next month. Because we had the same situation with Spars.
Who's responsible for putting the sign up? Is that the township or is that the applicant?
The applicant it was the township did fail to, we failed to let them know that the date was actually the 11th instead of the 18th. We sent out the Yes, yeah. In time for the sign to be
Do we
posted.
have to fix the sign then, too?
It'd have to be reposted.
It's probably going to have
The
to be
sign was posted
reposted.
in time for the meeting,
No, right.
so, which
With the
was
wrong dates.
why I think that we correctly told them that they needed to put it up earlier, but forgot to tweak
Change
that
the sign.
date.
Well, I had this question when the SPARS thing came up, is how do you know when that sign goes up?
We have the ordinance officer usually drives by to check that it's there.
And does he certify? Is it certified on a piece of paper if somebody questions it, that the sign was up for the required days?
No, it's typically just something that if someone complains that it's a concern, then we don't have a process in place for that. We could, I mean, we do, we don't have a sign, but every time that a applicant is asked to put up a paper, I forward it to Ken, the building inspector, and ask him to drive by and check that it's there.
I think this is the third time this has
It
happened.
is the
in
third
recent
time.
And it's not just it's the stress on the homeowner, nearby homeowners have lack of clarity around what the meeting date is. It takes a lot of time to prepare and come to these meetings. It's really unfair to our citizens in this type of situation. We got to do better, point blank on this. This is not acceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah, and when you realized it, I think we should have been notified, and certainly the applicant should have been notified about it. Because now and certainly a discussion with the township attorney, first of all, because he's the one that can properly guide us. But based on the error that happened in the past, I think we're pretty confident that we can't take action.
Seems like there should be a procedure in place that if sign has to be up a week in advance, like 6 days in advance or something, or somebody from the township goes and verifies that it's accurate. Because like you said, this has happened like 3 times in the past year.
It would be a simple matter if the ordinance officer would take a picture of the sign.
We have had people send us photos of the sign.
With our date stamped, so we know the date that photo was taken, and we can see the date that's on the sign. Well, I'm sorry, we just legally can't do anything today about it.
Mr. Chair, could I make one comment to Ms. Patricia? Actually, what we were asked to do here was change, the existing zoning is multifamily, which would be a much more intense development of this. So what this meeting was to change it to single family, which would be, I would presume, would certainly preserve some more of the natural features than multifamily would. So just to make that point, yeah. I would imagine the future homeowner would also want to save some of those trees, so, yeah. Thank you for coming, and thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Anyone else? We still have the public hearing open.
Yeah, are there any other comments? Because the public hearing is still open. Did you have some? Yeah, come on up.
I know that we can hear you, but the people, if they watch it, they can't.
Bart Patterson, I'm the listing agent on that property. Gentleman's in from Maine. You're gonna make him come back a whole month from now in January to be here for the meeting to take action?
Would you want us to break the law?
No, but again,
that's what you're-
this is the third time you just admitted
Yeah.
to it here that this has happened. He followed the planning guidelines. He was given something, he put it on a sign. He shouldn't be held in penalty of that. That's my feeling. And I'm not even representing him, okay? I'm representing the client selling the property. But I feel for him because I don't want him to have to come back here on a mistake. Again, now what happens about the sign? If he has to do it in January, he's got to go back and modify the sign? Because you have to make public notice again, correct? That would be following procedure. More letters are going to be sent. It's not right.
Well, I think everyone on the commission would agree with you. It isn't right. It is an error. It is the third time. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about it. You know, we're volunteers here.
I understand.
So There isn't, and I feel very badly about it. I don't think he needs to come back here because you showed up today. Frankly, there isn't much to talk about. You know, you're decreasing the potential density, you know, as it's currently planned. So I really don't see a need for you to come back. It's a procedural matter.
But he's also holding up the decision
I
for
know.
his building process.
I know.
In order to do that, and he can't get anybody to say, it's pretty much a slam dunk, we just have to make the final vote for him to move forward. That's really what he's looking for.
I know.
And I understand you've got liabilities, but it's a travesty for him.
It is.
I hear you.
I agree with you. We all agree with that.
It is a multi-step process though, too. It still does need to go to
To
the
go
Board of
before the Board of
Trustees.
Trustees. And I'm not sure when it would show up on the Board of Trustees. This really delays it a long time because we won't be able to address this
So
until January.
15th.
And then the Board of Trustees, it has to get on their calendar. So we're probably looking at February.
Like, I'm willing to go on the record saying I don't have any issues with this rezoning and I'm in favor of it.
Does anyone have any issues with it?
No.
So I think you could pretty well rest assured you're going to get the rezoning, but
There are 2 commissioners that aren't here
Yeah.
tonight, but there are 5 here that,
it's our quorum and that's it would pass.
very sorry
even
that
if
this
the-
happened.
Well, we have to do better. I hope you pass that on. All right, I'll close the public hearing at 7:27. I'm terribly sorry about this. I really feel badly.
I look forward to being your neighbor. I live 4 doors down, Southgate, on the corner lot, this way.
I just want to note for the sign, you can just use the current sign and draw over with the correct dates. You don't need to get a brand-new sign printed so you can just replace the date on the sign with the new date, so you don't need
Hey,
to.
will you communicate with him on
I
what
will
the date should be?
communicate with them on the.
And I'd like to see a photograph. I think you should email a photograph of that sign and the date so that we're assured that this is properly done.
All right, yes, sir. Written down.
Motion to postpone?
Yeah, is there a motion to postpone the applicant at 2543?
Mr. Chair, I move that we postpone the public hearing and action on PC number 2543, Northville Road rezoning.
Is there support?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Boyd and supported by Commissioner Pop to postpone application 2543 until our next meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, next is Advanced Paradonics, the ARC sign. And if the planner would read her report.
Okay, so this is an application for a series of signs for a property at 41017 Ann Arbor Road. This is in the OS ARC district, so office service on Ann Arbor Road. The proposed signage had a few items that exceed the requirements of the zoning ordinance that allow them to be approved administratively, and so they have to be approved by the planning commission based on these things. So the basic items are, I'll just show the main signs and highlight the zoning ordinance violations, or not violations necessarily, just things that have to be approved by the planning commission. The height of individual letters or logos of a sign can only be, must be no taller than 16 inches without being approved by the planning commission. This blue element here.
Hello, it's Bill. Joining. I'll mute.
Just so
Then
you
can you hear us, Bill? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you guys loud and clear. Perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, well, glad to have you join us.
Glad to be here.
Okay.
Sorry I'm a little tardy, but it's the best I could do.
Oh, that's okay. Well, we're also on YouTube. I think it's live stream. Is it live streamed? I think so. Yeah, you can try on YouTube on the township website.
Okay, all right.
If, you know, you can try both ways. Okay, where were we? Because I've lost my train of thought now.
The height of the sign.
Pardon?
Number
Oh,
2544,
the
the
sign.
advanced periodontics
Okay.
sign review.
Okay. So have you completed?
No, I mean, so there are some other elements. This, technically, we've ruled this as a panel sign officially. Anything that is like a flat surface with letters, we've ruled to be a panel sign. We could discuss if that's how we want to consider that in the future. And then that would be for this specific sign. The other element that they would need permission for would be to have some additional signage at the front. They officially, this element, which is taller than 16 inches, would be a second sign but they only have one front entrance. So there's not really anything that accounts for this additional piece. So they would need a waiver for that. And that's also taller than 16 inches. The applicant also requested a sign that would be freestanding on the ground, but this type of sign isn't, we denied this portion of the application because that signage, only one ground sign is permitted per use for this district. And if there is a directional sign, it needs to be associated with a driveway of some kind, and there's no driveway or anything there, so the ordinance doesn't have anything that would permit that additional signage there. But yes, so ultimately we recommended, I think the summary here is good, that the signage itself isn't against the zoning ordinance, it's not unattractive, it's perfectly reasonable and fits with the surrounding, character. It simply has some things that require planning commission approval, save for that one sign.
Okay. And the applicant is here, or a representative? If you want to come up. Are you the owner or the sign person, or?
My name's Tyler. I work for the sign company.
Okay.
That applied the permit. Yeah, so we're trying to put up a building sign. It's unlit. Yeah, the issue was the Lotus is taller than 16 inches. It's really just part of the scale of the logo. The actual logo is within the square footage allowed. It just happens to be taller than 16 inches. Every other building suite there has an icon that's larger than 16 inches. So I hope you guys don't foresee an issue with that. What's being proposed as a panel sign is just letters on a background. And that's for two reasons. For visibility. If we just did individual letters, it would be very difficult to manufacture because the letters would be so small. and a pin mount on the building. In addition, the backer panel that the letters are going on give some like contrast, so it's easier to see. So that's for the building logo portion. The additional lotus right above the door is for aesthetics. It looks visually nice. It balances the front entrance of the office. And then if we move to the ground sign, the reason for the ground sign, it's what we call a post and panel sign, is mainly for their elderly, older patients. Because the building and the parking lot runs parallel to each other, when cars are pulling in, it's difficult to see any signage on the building. So if you're looking right at the building, you're not paying attention to any oncoming traffic. So all we were trying to do is just point an arrow so people can see where the office is. There's actually another office in that same suite that has a post and panel sign. So was the whole purpose of just trying to direct people so they can see where the office is without taking their eyes off of the actual parking lot and oncoming traffic. And I believe that's it.
Questions from the commission, thoughts?
I have a question. Did you say that one of the other businesses in that complex has a directional sign?
Yes, they do.
Which business?
It is.
It's in the very back of that complex. It's the last building in the complex as you're going south, north to south.
Did we approve that sign, or is it up without approval?
Yeah, you can bring it.
I did look through our past approvals for signage at that location, and I didn't see anything for a ground sign other than the multi-tenant monument sign. I'm not going to rule out that there isn't another property there, or that that there was an application I'm not thinking of. But the ordinance states that you can only have one freestanding sign, ground sign per multi-use building. And if you're going to have a directional sign, it needs to be associated with a driveway, not just a single business, because that's a multi-tenant building with
Everyone would
5
have a directional sign. And then-
businesses down it. So I think it's a way to prevent each and every one of those from having that many signs.
I agree. If we let one, then everyone is going to be entitled to one.
So if there's another one down there, it might be there might be a driveway back there or something that I'm not sure.
No, there's no driveway back there, right? It's just that wooden sign, it's totally opposite side of the building on the road, and it just doesn't look right. That was my only comment on it.
Can you repeat it, because we didn't hear you properly?
Sure. The unit that's in the back that has that sign, right, is just kind of on the opposite side, right? I don't know that it's going to help anyone who's looking, because most people use Google Maps to get to where they're going nowadays, including my dad, who's 88, right, with an iPhone. And I recognize that not everyone has an iPhone and Google Maps, but there's only, I think, 5 businesses in the 2 buildings that are in that little complex, right? Everything else they ask for, the sign that's the board up at top, even though it's bigger, no issue, right? The logo that's above the door, no issue. Even the letters are bigger, the brass letters they use, no issue with anything. Just that one extra wooden sign on the opposite side of the road you drive through, it just doesn't look right. That was my one comment that I wanted to share with the commission.
I did have one question. The sign that you're asking for that's directly above the door, not the big one on the gable, but the one that's directly above the door, is that a continuation of the existing sign that's above the door, or does that replace the sign that's above the door right now?
Oh, I see.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Okay, you have, the second sign you're asking for is that like flower
Yeah.
emblem above
Yeah,
the door?
It's just a little lotus, yes.
Okay, are you replacing that with a new one, or are you just keeping that and counting that, and we're counting that as a second sign?
Yes, it would be considered a second sign according to the city.
But it is the one you have on the door right now, or above the door? Okay.
I think that the ordinance has changed. The sign standards were different when the original signage was approved, the current signage.
So was the lotus above the door, or whatever was above the door, originally approved? Like under a different ordinance, and are they just replacing the sign?
Yes, but in our ordinance, if you replace or remove a sign, it's completely reviewed.
Okay, just making
Again,
sure.
Yeah.
So just so we're clear here, they would be required to remove the lotus above the door to comply with the township sign ordinance, is that correct?
Yes, however, I think in the same way that you're able to permit logos taller than 16 inches, if it's as a decorative element, you could potentially waive it. I think as an item for aesthetics, you would be able to waive the requirement. Sorry, I was trying.
So I guess saying that if we look at the lotus above the door as an architectural feature, it could be approved? And not as a sign, is that what?
Well, sorry.
So we're looking at number 3 on here, right?
Right, it does say it cannot be approved as presented. As it's considered a logo element,
It's a sign.
it's a sign. I can pull up, the way that the ordinance lists the items that are taller than 16 inches, it's very clear that you can waive that requirement, but it's less so with the additional logo elements and things. So it would be based on but because it's a logo and because it's decorative, it was going to be a matter of discussion.
Well, isn't that what we did with Big B Coffee with the B? They have that big B.
But they already have a sign above their door,
No,
so it's a second door
right,
sign.
it is. Yeah. But it's also on the corner, and I think that makes
No,
it.
so I do think that I'm sorry, I wasn't as straightforward about it before, because the way that the ordinance is written, a third sign, I would probably need to be something that's waived by the ZBA rather than the Planning Commission. It's very clear about the 16 inches, it's not as clear about the additional sign, so.
So there's 3 issues, the height of the main sign.
And that's not really an issue so much as it needs to be approved by the Planning Commission.
Right. So there's 3 things, right? There's the height of the big sign, there's the additional lotus thing above the door, and then that second directional sign, so there's 3.
There's actually
And
a
there's
fourth,
four.
which is the sign design, the fact that the lower portion
Oh, it's
uses a
not
background.
panel.
Yeah.
Or, yeah,
It's a
okay,
panel sign.
so there's 4 things. Okay.
I'm personally of the view that the first 2, the sign dimension and the sign design, are something I would be comfortable approving. I do not agree with our new commissioner on the phone. I do not agree that we should do the ground sign. Otherwise, every business in
single
that
one.
entire facility, we should also have the building department go back and check and see what the story is of the other existing ground sign, which I did not see, but thank you for bringing that to our attention. As far as the additional logo sign, it's pretty clear to me that we can't not approve that either. So that's my view, and I'd be prepared to make a motion if that's something that.
I agree with all of that,
I
Commissioner
agree.
Boyd.
Yeah, that's fine.
I do have just one question, though, just to verify. Is the name of the business Advanced Periodontics and Implantology? Is that the full name of the business? Okay. It's not a description. Okay, it's the full name. Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I agree with you, Commissioner Boyd.
Okay, I move that we, regarding the subject number 2544, Advanced Paradonics, sign review number 2, that we authorize the sign dimension, the logo element to be larger than 16 inches, that we allow the applicant to use a backer for the lower portion of that same sign, and that we do not approve the directional ground sign, and we do not approve the additional logo sign directly above the door.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported to approve application 2542, subject to set conditions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm an aye on the phone also. I agree.
What did you say?
He agreed with the motion, he voted for it as well as this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, good luck to you.
Good luck.
Okay, and we have received and filed on the monthly planning report. Are there any questions on the report?
I have no questions for a change.
No questions, no comments?
I have a question on the January meeting is, did we say January 1st is counted as the first Wednesday, so the meeting's the 15th?
Right,
Okay, all right.
and at 6:30.
Our time change.
Our time, do you have 6:30?
For all meetings, 25.
Right,
Okay.
and the Board of Trustees also voted for themselves to meet at 6:30.
What, I do have a question.
Sure.
On this, on 2533, which is that used car lot / body shop.
Oh,
/
yeah.
Whatever it is.
Right.
Is there any movement on that?
No.
Other than now he has a RV parked there and apparently residing in it?
If there's been another report to the, we're sending all complaints to the ordinance enforcement office. He hasn't submitted any new site plans for the site yet. He has until 1 year from his approval, which I believe was in June. But we're working with the building and code enforcement.
I also noticed the mobile home today.
Yeah. And now the slide out is out, so he is.
Yeah.
And, oh yeah, water and electric is hooked up too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I hadn't heard about that as of this morning.
Any other concerns or comments on the report? I don't know. Well, we'll just receive and file. I don't think we need to make a motion on it. Just
I have a
receive.
question.
Sure.
So how long can something stay, like, for, just as an example, the Purcell thing? So under review, I don't know what that means. Can it sit is it in queue, or is it on hold, or?
Well, the PUD, moved away from it because he was splitting those off. I think wasn't he going to create 2 lots? He had sold two home sites.
Well,
I'm sorry,
Purcell property.
Yeah, he was
which
gonna,
property?
the front part, yeah.
Purcell property.
This is number 25.
Oh, sorry.
46200 North Dakota.
That is currently in discussion with the attorney. I'm not up to date on the status of that application.
Okay, that's fine, I was just.
We
Yeah.
can discuss it.
Because I just live down the street. so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can ask about it. Perhaps you can find out about it, and we can talk about it next month, okay?
Yes.
Because I saw the house is for lease. But then I heard the historic commission wants to, no,
Well, the historical commission,
they're,
they wouldn't like to see the house raised,
down,
but they're
yeah.
not, they have not come out with an official,
okay.
comment on it or anything else. There was originally supposed to be a historical sign out in front. Jack Dempsey, if you remember, he was former trustee and has written several historical books, wrote up the text for that sign, and that was all part of the PUD. But then there's no more PUD, so there's no more historical sign.
Yeah. No, I think it's a
Yeah.
5 acre lot. There's certainly room for,
Well, I think there's
It
more
was
than 10.
the
More than
original approval you did was, I think, 7 homes, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, which is pretty major, yeah.
I've been in the house, it does need work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's some pictures on,
Oh, I
Zillow, because they're
Yeah.
trying to lease it. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, and Commissioner comments, and I think Commissioner Boyd, you had a comment you
Yes, I
wanted to
did.
make?
Some of you know John Itzel. John was a member of the Planning Commission for quite some time. Some of you also know that his wife Sandy has been very ill for a couple of years. John saw me leaving for the meeting tonight and told me that Sandy had passed away a couple days ago. So for those of you, welcome. Really, really tough.
What's his last name?
John
Itzel.
Itzel.
ITSELL.
Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah. Any other commissioner comments?
I do. Just a reminder that election of officers is in January. So that's chairman, vice chair, and secretary. So if anyone is interested in any of those
Start campaigning.
positions. Yep, start campaigning because that will be nominations and election in January 15th.
I have one other comment too. I would really like to see a schedule for our study sessions to get us underway on the 2025 master plan.
Right.
Now that we have a new supervisor, I don't really think there's any reason to delay that any further, so.
We've been at it for years.
And we might as well start all over because we've got, Stuart is fairly new and Bill will be starting next month in person, so.
So I guess I would make a formal request that we get a plan for our study sessions along with the topics to be discussed between January and April, which I think was what we were deciding about, trying to have a draft of the master plan completed.
You mean have a study session for the master plan?
Yeah, several,
Yeah.
we probably need several of them.
Yeah, we
Several.
won't be able to do
Oh,
it.
God, no, it's, yeah, because it talks about every little part, yeah.
Any other comments or concerns? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:53?
So moved.
Second, or do I need a
Yeah,
second?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Moved by Commissioner Barberina, supported by Commissioner Pop to adjourn the meeting at 7:53. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries, we're adjourned.